1, 2, 3.
This is the INKPULP podcast.
I hate this so much.
The Fratelli Brothers.
Yo, so
Fratelli Bros is in the house. Yeah.
I have such a huge level of disdain. Can I just get rid of both of you?
You can't. It's too late, man. Too late.
I disagree. Look at this. Look. I forgot I have the control center over here. This is awful. All right, listen, for the people who are still watching this podcast, we should give this stupidity some context. So first of all, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. This is episode what now, Shawn?
This is episode 122, I believe.
All right, episode 122. We've made it 122 episodes without these dum-dums coming to the top and showing off this dummy. But most importantly, thank you for joining us once more. Shawn is here as typical. My name is Canete. I'm our most recent guest. I hope he continues to do this with us even after I berate them both for being such idiots. Matteo Scalera.
Yo, what up?
All right, so let's give this some context. You guys decided to cosplay as each other starting when?
When did it start? Oh, so long ago. It started by accident. It honestly started by accident. We were at Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle. Maybe this is 10 years ago now, maybe 8 years ago. Yeah. And it was the weather that was predicted was not the weather we were getting. So it was rainy and chillier than Matteo and I were expecting. We didn't have jackets. So I left the show at like 3 one day. And on my way back to the hotel, I stopped in at Urban Outfitters and got myself a little jacket. I get back to my room. I'm doing a little email work. And in walks Matteo in his new jacket. And coincidentally, we purchased the same jackets. And then we were like, well, what do we do? And the obvious answer was, we're wearing them tonight together. And so then everyone had a blast making fun of us, and it was hilarious, and people were mistaking us for each other. So after that, we decided to start purposefully doing it.
Yep.
Does that sound right to you, Matteo? Is that story track?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Right, so so Shawn took a lot of joy in it, right? Because remember last week we were talking about like the ray of sunshine that hit me now hits you, and it feels really, really good. Yeah. Right? I think in that particular case, the ray of sunshine hits you and is now like that like shrapnel that like is radiating off of you and hitting Shawn, and he loves it, right? Because finally he's like, oh, is that what a warm, loving glow feels like? I've never felt that before. Did you feel the same way? Because it seems like Shawn was just like, oh, this is so cool. I feel popular again. Like, did you
is that what I felt popular again?
I'm just condensing, Shawn, because there's a lot of BS in there. Like, did you feel the same way, Matt? Because I feel like when you walked in with the jacket, I feel like you were like, I should go return it and get another cut. Like you had two choices.
He's trying to turn you against me.
Don't even try.
Feel the same? Did you feel the same way? I'm trying to confirm. When you walked in, you were like, "This is so." Did you feel the same way? Did you see it and you said, "This is cool"?
Shawn, do you see what he's trying to do?
Yeah, he's trying to divide us.
I'm confirming. I'm not trying to cause a divide.
Harmony of
you can't break the brotherhood.
Listen, I know that.
Fuck the brotherhood. We'll fuck you back.
Splitting you guys up is useless. I'm just trying to get confirmation from both of you. If I'm going to sit here through this BS, I want to make sure that I'm understanding the full story. All right. So this has been going on for how many years now?
8. A little bit less than 10 years, probably.
Yeah.
And nothing has changed. You're still.
The thing has a name now because we are the Fratelli Bros.
Yeah.
Right. Which, by the way, you're the Italian, so explain to them how ridiculous that name is.
Well, basically, fratello means brother.
Yes.
So Fratelli Bros is basically the brothers.
So I want to.
So we were in line in New York
Yeah, go
getting
ahead.
very jackets.
Yeah.
We
Very
went
jackets,
to a
huh?
place that was a big discount store, and I saw this jacket, and I pulled Matteo over because I knew he'd love it. I was like, bro, look at this. And so he's like, oh shit. And he had to get one. And we get in line, and he goes, you should get one too. I was like, you think? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. So I went and grabbed one, and now we're both in line. I'm like, well, now we need a name. And in my head, I just thought it'd be hilarious to be the brothers, but half in Italian and half in English. So I was like, what's the Italian word for brother? He said fratelli. So.
Oh, but by the way, there's another thing that is really what is it? Connected
Oh,
to the logo. Shit. All right, you want to do it, brother? Okay. And we're gonna.
It's so painful.
It's totally that.
So I want to get this straight. You guys got the jackets,
Yeah.
and then you saw the image on the jacket, and you said, "I would like to get that permanently put on my skin."
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. I never thought, if you asked me like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if I would ever, get a matching tattoo with somebody, I would have said no.
Yeah, I would have said that's so stupid.
Listen, you should have still said no, but for whatever reason, something happened between 10 years ago and now where you're like, no, this is a good idea, you guys.
The word stupid, became, something else at another allure.
You're changing definitions now.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Still stupid, but now stupid is better.
It's better stupid.
It's a better stupid. It's
We could be.
It's not a
We
negative.
could be on this all day. Listen, I knew I was in trouble the moment I hit the bumper, and the both of you jumped out of your chair like cats and started putting
Oh,
on.
because
You saw that?
you could see us.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Because
Yeah,
I
I
guess
was like-
I just see the INKPULP logo.
Yeah, no, I could because I have the control room on this.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I saw you guys jump out of your chair, and I'm like, this is gonna be so awful. This is gonna be so bad. Anyway, like we could turn this into an entire episode, but I hope that we don't. Is first of all.
No. I mean,
When I
look,
first
Let
saw
me
you guys,
answer that small bills during
it
the
didn't
various
it
episodes.
didn't dawn on me the first time. I'll give you guys my history with it. It didn't dawn on me that you guys were doing it until it was like really stupid obvious, and I can't even remember the exact thing that you guys were doing, right? Because you would both come back to the hotel like regular human beings after going to a show, wearing whatever, like you're wearing a basketball jersey, Maddie, right? Depending on what time of year it is. Shawn is wearing some like god awful thing that I'm like, that shouldn't be allowed. Like that's a thing that you see on a cartoon. You don't see that on a real human being in real life. But Shawn wears it. Like it's okay for him to wear. Like he saw it like in an episode of Ben 10 or something. You know what I mean? Like he saw it.
Well, then you designed
episode
it,
of,
and
like,
I'm wearing it to support my brother Eric.
Like Ed and Eddie, and you were like, fuck yeah, that should be something that a human should wear. So you get it customized and you buy it. I think you go down the line of like acceptable clothing wherever you go, and you go like, what's the thing that nobody's buying? Like there's like 3 shirts that are black, 3 shirts that are whatever, and there's like 50 shirts that are the ridiculous color that you buy, and you're like, that one, that's the one.
You're
right?
not
Anyway,
that far off.
we go to a show. You guys are wearing the typical things that you guys wear. We come back and you're like, okay, we're gonna go out to dinner. Typical me, I don't go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, okay, fine. You can stay. Can we get you anything? Kindness of your heart, Shawn. To your credit, you always say, hey, can I bring you back something, right? And then I go, no, it's fine. Whatever my answer is. Okay, we're gonna go get ready. And you guys disappear for a while, and I'm not paying attention. And then you come out. And it's a weird sitcom episode where you're like you're in the bedroom Matteo might be in the bathroom, and you both meet in the hallway, like face to face, wearing the same thing. And for a brief second, I look up and I go, I think I'm fucked up. Like I'm seeing these idiots. I think I'm seeing these guys wearing the same thing. And then it's the way that you took so much pride, right? Where you looked at each other, and I remember you brushing Matteo's shoulder off, you know? Like you set him up. You were like, hey, and then you brush his shoulder off. I'm like, God help me. We got 2 more days of this fucking show where these dum-dums are gonna do this thing.
Which means
Anyway.
2 more outfits.
That's exactly
Which means
right.
and that's the part that hurts the most. Is because one day I think, all right, it's like you guys right now, jumping out of your chairs, putting the thing on. It's like coordinated. It's like it's on purpose. But there are days when you guys do it multiple nights in a row.
Yeah.
And I think to myself,
you're
like,
not even
that's
privy to the text before the con where it's like, hey, which ones are we bringing?
Listen, I'm glad that I'm not. Congratulations to the both of you for fucking pulling off the best Matteo Shawn cosplay ever. All right. Like I said, we could make this into an entire episode. Matteo had something that he wanted to talk to before this tragedy. Before we went live.
I mean, I have like 2 things, and I'll let you guys decide.
Yeah.
Which of the 2 things
Yeah, man.
gonna talk about. So one is a situation that I'm living now, and I wanted to hear your thoughts about it. Yeah. And the other one is a situation that I was in a few years ago, and I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, man.
It's so the situation that I'm in now is I'm doing a gig. I'm doing a thing for a company where cards and playing cards with superheroes and stuff. And they're being like so fucking picky with with editing, and they ask for a lot of revisions. So like normally for me to do a cover, it takes me 2 days. So day 1, I do a lot of really detailed layouts. Some of them I showed you a couple of episodes ago.
Right.
And then I send them at the end of the day, and by the evening I have an answer from the publisher. Hopefully, usually that's what happens. And then the day after, I had the whole day to finish it, basically. And with this one, I've already lost an entire week just for pencils, which, by the way, I don't do anymore when I do covers, because I just jump directly straight to the inks, because my the layouts that I do are super detailed, so I don't need to show the pencils, because it's already there what I'm gonna do. So in this case, I've been going back and forth with pencils, and they ask me and sometimes they even ask me for really, in a kind of annoying way, like, oh, this arm is a little bit odd for us. Can you change it? And they actually drew over my drawing how the arm is supposed to be bending instead of what I did, and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you guys what, I'm exhausted already, and I don't think I'm gonna do the next thing. I've sent the 5th version of the pencils, and I'm already done with it. It was supposed to be a long-term, collaboration, but I'm already done with it. First and last card.
I'm in a similar situation, but I want to hear Eric speak on this, and then I'll.
So my first question is that how would you handle that? Meaning, you would just finish it, and then when they ask for the next, the next work, the next job, you're gonna be like, the next assignment, you're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, something else came up, so I can't do that." So just pretend that nothing happened, and just not work for them anymore without saying anything, or you start like without being rude or anything, just explain to them that you're not liking the situation because this and this and this reason. Okay, so this is the first one.
Okay.
The second question that I have.
Yeah. Why don't we talk about this and then we'll do both? We have time.
Yeah.
It's
Okay, let's do that.
All right, Eric, you want to go first? You're the art director here. I'd like to hear your opinion on this.
The end goal is not to do it anymore, right? The end goal is like it sounds like you're already done. You're like, hey, I don't think this is something that's good for me. By the way, so just to zoom out just a tiny bit, some people, we were just talking offline about the whole Segura thing, and potentially some people could be looking at your situation, Matteo, and be like, what the fuck? How dare you talk about how all of these things that are, like you just getting this job should be good enough. You should be able to blah, blah, blah. You should like just kind of do whatever it is that you need to like.
I would
Shut
like
up.
to, I'd like to
Just
respond.
shut up.
Exactly. A, shut up. B, Matteo has earned this. He has developed his
Right.
skill and put in the hours to be right.
It doesn't come from a place of privilege. It comes from a place. Well, it is in all
It's
technicality.
privilege he earned and worked for and built.
It comes from a place of like busting his butt for like decades, and he's gotten to a point now where he doesn't have to apologize for the opportunities he gets. And he sure as hell doesn't have to apologize for saying no, thank you for the opportunities.
Right. He's also a skilled enough artist where picking out anatomy stuff is a bit odd. But yeah,
it's really art directory in my opinion. That's why I kind of laugh at it. Okay, so that off the table, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Matteo getting to a point in his career where we can say yes or no, even to projects that potentially could be like a really, really big deal for some people, depending on where they are in the professional journey. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like, how do you elegantly exit off of a project that hey, I'm not going to do anything off of, right? I say with as much professionalism as possible, right? Reflecting back the stuff that you dislike about what they're doing, potentially they could walk away and be like, oh, that was a helpful tool for us. Moving forward, the next set of freelancers that we deal with will be that much more aware about like how we give feedback and blah, 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 blah. But I suspect that may not land very well, right?
Yeah.
So instead, I would do option one, which is just to say, hey, the time that I thought that I had for whatever it is, the time that I thought that I had time to dedicate to this project, I just won't have it anymore, just based on our back and forth, based on our feedback cycle, whatever it is. I'm going to take this one to a finish for you as best as I can. But afterwards, I don't think it's ideal for either of us to be involved in the project anymore.
Yeah.
Me because I'm running out of time, you because you have a particular deadline window, blah, blah, blah. And if they decide to ask, right? If they decide to ask, hey, was there anything in there that we could have done better with you, right? Hey, did we mess up somewhere? Did we, is there opportunities for improvement for us as a blah, 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 and the feedback cycle, blah, blah, then you volunteer, right? Yeah. But for the most part, there's no sense in telling them they did a poor job, because at the end, like that thing, they could genuinely read between the lines as very cynical. From if they were cynical or if you were cynical, they could look at it and be like, oh, this fucking guy doesn't know how to take feedback, which you can just, how to, you know yourself enough to be like, I can be doing something else. Right. Yeah. So why not just do that?
Just sorry to interrupt, just a quick thing. Like, I think there's all of this, corrections they're asking for. I think they're all concentrated in the pencil stage because they know that they still work traditionally, and they work with ink washes, which are way more difficult to erase. It's hard to change stuff with ink washes.
This is very similar to what I've been dealing with.
So it might be that they want to be sure 100% that once I get to inking the piece, everything is set and everything is right to their eyes. Yeah. Instead of asking me, because if you're a digital artist, you can correct whenever you want.
Yes.
Either in the pencil stage or in the inking stage. So can be that they want to make sure 100% make sure that there's nothing, no surprise when it comes to inking. So,
Sure.
To
Yeah,
their,
no, it makes sense.
Yeah,
no, it
to
makes sense. And
their, you say,
to the credit, right?
To their credit, yeah.
Yeah. And I want to add something to that too. Like this goes back to like you saying, this doesn't come from a place of like Matteo is unwilling to take feedback. I think this comes from a place of like, I can either spend it's like time and energy expenditure, right? I could either go and do this that takes a ton of time to do because of the feedback. Feedback is just a symptom of it, right?
Yeah.
Or you can go like, I can go over here and not have to spend so much time on it and be that much more productive on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
The feedback portion is just a component of that time and energy expenditure. I think people have a tendency to be like, what, you're too good for feedback? Dude, I'm an AD, right? Like I'm a lead, right? And I get feedback all the time. So it's for would you like, now I start thinking to myself like, oh, is this inherent in the job? Is feedback built in to the thing that I'm doing? And if the answer is yes, I don't care, right? It's part of the job, right?
Yeah.
But if I had a choice of not having to deal with that and spending my time and energy elsewhere, then depending on what mood I am, or depending on where my brain is hitched up that day, then I'll go in that direction. So this isn't about the inability to take feedback. This is about like, where do I want to spend my time and energy
exactly.
best, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like, whatever feedback they give me and whatever, correction they ask for, I mean, if they're going to ask another couple of times, I'm going to be like, hey, guys, come on, But so far, they asked for 5 correction, and I did them because once I say yes to a job, I'm going to, do that,
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm going to be a professional about it. But,
Of course. I'm dealing with something very similar in that I'm doing cards too, but this is for a phone game. I assume yours is different.
I don't know if they're actual cards or digital cards, phone cards.
What's the name of the company you're working for?
Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
Yeah,
Sidestep the naming of it.
I would
Don't do
prefer.
it.
I'll say
Shawn.
my company.
I don't have anything against them actually.
No,
so I
right.
don't
All right.
know.
So I'm doing cards for Marvel Snap. It's like so I assume that's not the company you're working for.
Yeah, I actually said their name in the last episode, so fuck it. But
that's right, you did.
just in case, I'm not gonna repeat it because I don't want it to be personal.
Right, I get it. So they came at me, wanting me to do these cards. I assume like the company came at you, but the rate we settled on for me was incredible. Like I don't make near this money in comics.
Yeah, my rate too was really good. That's why I accepted because
my plan was I was going to paint them traditionally, and they said, "Yeah, that's fine, that's fine." And as I was going along, I wasn't getting a ton of changes, but I was getting changes, and most of the changes, I was like, "Oh, that's kind of smart." Like the art director, whoever's working through the editor guy I'm working through, knows his shit. So I was like, all right, some of those and the changes were pretty minimal.
Yeah.
Some of the changes were weird to me, like little anatomy things. Like I got one change. It's like this line is too long. It was like in a leg. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's like first off, it's just a pencil drawing. Of course, I'm gonna ink it differently. Anyways, so I realized, okay, so I talked to some other artists doing it, and they were getting noted to death like you are, like lots and lots of notes and redos. I was like, I'm not getting noted that bad, but I was like, if I do this as a painting, then they want changes. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. So I emailed them. I was like, hey, with the changes and stuff, I think it would be better if I just colored these digitally.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's up to you. Let me talk to my art director. And they came back. They're like, whatever you want to do, digitally is fine. So I was like, all right, great. So I did the digital colors, and they wanted some changes after the colors, like little changes a few times. And I was like, all right, thank God. I even said to them, I'm glad we did this digitally. And they agreed. Now, the money they're paying me to do these is well worth the, let's say the changes added on an extra hour's worth of work to my card. That's easy and worth it for me.
Yeah.
So I want more because it pays so well. And the way I look at it is like my hope is I get more, and this affords me the ability to start my own book, and that's where I can like not have to worry about changes and shit and just do me. Whereas like when I'm doing the cards, I'm penciling tighter than I normally do. I'm inking tighter than I normally would, just because I know that's what they're looking for.
Well, also, if you keep working with them, after a while, on one end, you learn what they like and what they don't.
Right,
So you
right.
make less, let's call it mistakes. It's
Right,
not real
right.
mistakes, but for them, it's stuff that needs to be changed.
Right.
And on
And
the
in
other
their
hand, they'll be more trustful of you. You know,
right,
they'll
exactly.
trust you
And
more, so they'll be more open to your ideas, probably. You know,
yeah, maybe so. But what was
It's the
smart was
best.
they said, let's start with just 2 cards. Like they were offering me a ton of them. They said, let's start with 2 and just see how we work together. So
Yeah.
I know the next batch, if I get them, will be smooth sailing.
Yeah.
So like if I were to have reached the point of breakage where I was like, this is the time they're asking for changes, all of a sudden makes the money not good, then I would do exactly probably what Eric said, where it'd be like, hey, I got other jobs coming in and that my schedule is just not going to be able with the changes and shit. It's just not going to work well.
And just to make things clear, like I'm in the same situation as you are. Like the changes are not huge changes, and but some changes they asked for, they're kind of weird. Like sometimes I'm like,
I had a
what?
couple of those.
You know, so that can be annoying because I'm not used to that.
Right.
But you know, it's more for me practically. The real problem is that I'm spending so much time on this
Right.
video.
And
So
that's
it's
where
not
it's
worth
different.
the money and time balance is not
Right.
is not that balanced anymore.
Yeah, it's just not worth it for you.
Or what's that second one? You had a
Yeah.
second question.
Okay, the second one, I think it involves more you, Eric, since you're an art director. Yeah, that's your.
By the way, let's be clear. Like, you know, I said it kind of offhandedly, but in as far as my title is concerned, it's not exactly it, right? Like I'm an art lead that has art director responsibilities, but title wise, that's not how you put it on my business card. That's certainly
Is
not
art
how they're.
lead under art director or above art director?
Yeah,
Or are they
an art director in such a way has more administrative responsibilities than I do.
Okay.
Right? More organizational responsibilities than I do, where I have more I have almost exclusively creative responsibilities within the department, if that makes any sense. So I just want to make that clear because I'm not sitting here going like, oh, I'm an AD, because I would be underrepresenting all the ADs with the place I work. Go ahead.
Okay, so, but of course, it's a question for both of you guys. Whatever your input, it's gonna be.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, before you ask that question, you know all that feedback Shawn was getting? I was the one that was sending it to him. I said, like, Shawn, this is so bad. This is just outright. This is so bad. Like a ton of decisions that you made, including those stupid matching jackets, is just so bad.
I mean, anyone who would do what we do.
Yeah, Shawn, why are you adding every time a tiger and a moon to every piece?
Just like everything.
And an F? What's this F?
FB.
This corner of this building. What's
and why does it say FB for life?
On everything. On everything. Unwarranted things too. Like it's a dinner scene and you're putting it in the background.
Okay, so back to the question. So a few years ago, I don't know if you remember, guys, but I got injured. Like,
your shoulder.
Basically my collarbone and my shoulder got detached from each other.
Yeah.
And because, of course, what you do when you're like 37, you just start doing jiu-jitsu, you know?
Of course.
So
that's what everybody does.
Yeah. So basically, I had to get surgery, and the whole recovery was pretty long.
Yeah.
And during that time, when it was impossible for me to actually draw. Like for the first 2 months, I think month and a half probably was impossible for me to draw. So I got contacted by a company in that period. I think it was a Canadian company. That they do animation, And basically what happened is that they got in contact with a client for, I think, an advertising. And they specifically asked this advertising to be fully animated and in my style.
Sure. That's
Okay.
awesome.
So they contacted me to, start, to see if I was interested in, being the art director for this project.
Yeah.
Okay. So, of course, back then I just had surgery. So I said, they were talking about scheduling already.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be coming here to Canada in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about it. We'll decide about rating, and then you'll have to come here for 6 months, and then blah blah blah. They were already making plans for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to say no because I couldn't actually draw.
Yeah, man.
But sometimes I think about that situation. I was like, oh, but what if I said yes? Like I would be completely unprepared to be an art director because I don't have a clue of what being an art director means.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
in a situation like that, I know that you're not, you didn't talk to these guys, so you don't know what my commitments and the stuff, that the actual job that I would have to do would be. But in your head, what would have happened if I said yes? What would be
Well, how do you mean when you say like what would have happened? Like what would have set you up for success?
No, not in the case. Like in general, if you think about the situation, okay, the situation is a company hires an artist to be an art director because the client that they have to do the advertising for, they want an animated advertising for using my style. Yeah. So if I said yes, what the process would be like? Because in my head, it would be like, okay, so, and I might be terribly wrong with that.
Yeah, go.
But in my head, it would be for the first few weeks, they would ask me to, produce some visual stuff for specific and ideas in general for that advertising. Sure. Maybe aside with a director and some other people, a writer, whatever. Mm-hmm. So the first part would be like concepts and stuff, and I had to come up with ideas. And then when we all agreed on, on where the project's gonna go, we'll start eventually hiring specific people that can do my style, or they use their own people. How does it work?
That's pretty accurate. that's you would have done great. You'd have done just
okay,
right. Which is like the only thing that I would add is because of your body of work, right? And especially when it comes to a client, when they say like, "Oh, we love Matteo's style," and that is such a broad. Like they may have seen something in a specific book, in a specific panel, in a specific something, where you're like, when you say you like my stuff, can you point to me? Just so we can narrow it down, and then from there have an extended conversation of like, why does that speak to you so much, right? Yeah. So at the very least, once you start going into the R&D space, which is all the concept stuff that you're talking about, you'll have that in the back of your head. Oh, they really like it when I do this feathering technique. They really like it when I draw like square looking people, whatever it is that they really super like. Yeah. But if they say just generally we like it, right? I would still go through the due diligence of like, here I'm using this as just a really cartoonish example. Maybe it's like a thing for a cat, right? Like a commercial for a cat, or like an advertisement for a cat. Yeah. You draw 3 of them in styles that you're comfortable with, and go like, I've drawn 3. One of these is probably closer to what you guys are envisioning would work for your product, for your IP, and for your brand. Which one should I go develop further? And from that, like the reason why I say that is because specificity is key when it comes to a client, right? Yeah. They're going to, again, I'll say Kevin Nolan, the 3 of us will think of like 3 very specific eras of Kevin Nolan, of the way he looked, but all in all, it encompasses Kevin Nolan. So similarly to you, they were like, oh, we really love your Ulk or whatever the fuck, right? They'll be like, oh, but yeah, but I'm drawing.
One thing for sure is that they would hate my Mr. Freeze story, right?
Right. Well, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank God they didn't contact you before Mr. Freeze came. I mean, after Mr. Freeze came out, because I don't think they would have contacted you at all, to be perfectly honest.
I mean,
But
Eric, I
so
think Eric wanted to ask you, but was afraid if there's any way to change your name on the Mr. Freeze book so it doesn't reflect upon you.
I'm giving you a heads up now. So once they collect it in a trade paperback, please, don't use another name. But the point is like your body of work encompasses like a lot of different looks, right? Not necessarily so disparate that they are unidentifiable, right?
Yeah.
They have a lot of like similarity, but a look, right? Because it's in your nature. Like you said before, you try with every new project to bring something new to the table. These guys could like a particular book, this book A, but not necessarily like book B, right?
Yeah.
So that to me, I would really bear down on. And then from there, it goes to what you were talking about, which is once you guys land the R&D with whatever it is that fits the concept, whatever, once you land the concept art, it's probably going to be early working with narrative. It's probably going to be then starting the hiring process or bringing on people that can kind of emulate what you do. And from there on down, you can start healing your shoulder. But I want to say something else. Like there are instances in our career, and I suspect that you can speak to this too, Shawn, where something else took your time and attention away. And it's, by the way, I think you did it right. Like when you're younger, I would say let's go travel back into our like DeLoreans and Back to the Future, and like you have that same shoulder injury in your like mid-20s, Matteo, right?
Yeah.
This thing happens, and I suspect there would be more a part of you that would say like, yeah, no, I'll go to Canada for like 6 to 8 months with an injured shoulder and let me go try this out. Because I think it would be that much more critical for you at that stage in your career to have this professional notch on your belt. Not just the professional notch, but obviously the experience of being able to do it. You fast forward 10 years later, right? In your late to mid 30s, later in your 40s, you're not even thinking about that. You're thinking about like, I need to go heal this thing because what I'm looking at is the next 20 years, not the past 20, right? I'm looking forward to the next 20. So I think that's key, right? Like I think for the age that you were at the point of your career that you were in, that was the right choice to make, right? And it's not to say that opportunity will ever come again, except not the identical thing, and especially because you drew Mr. Freeze. Oh my God, that thing is never going to happen again. Nobody's ever going to ask you to art direct a commercial, like unless this next thing that you do makes up for it, right? Because if you think about like really, really good directors,
well,
right?
I mean, I think we should back up on something we told Matteo earlier, which was to leave the card job. It sounds like if he's got this card job, he may need to hold on to it because the next job after this will be after the Freeze book came out, and no one's going to want him.
Well, that's the thing. It's not like he's just sitting on the Mr. Freeze and like, oh, where's my accolades? It's never gonna come, right? Like he's actually sitting on Mr. Freeze, realizing now through no suggestion through us. I think he's smart enough to understand it, realizing now on his own that it was an awful mistake. It was like an awful, like, oh, I should not have. Like, I'm trying to think of a director that you were like, you should not have done that movie. You know what I mean? like Dave Fincher did Seven, and then Fight Club, and then Social Network, and then it does like a really, really dumb movie. Like, what's a dumb David Fincher movie? Okay, so David Fincher doesn't make stupid mistakes like you, Matteo, but I'm like, if he did,
Coppola's made some missteps.
Oh, he did. What is the Zodiac one, right? It's called Zodiac. That's a David Fincher.
Zodiac, yeah.
Right.
Did you like it?
I was like, it was okay.
Yeah.
That's right. But of the ones that I've mentioned, like Zodiac it's towards the bottom of that list, right?
Yeah, but that's not, I mean, comparing it to like Matteo's Freeze, I mean,
I'm just saying like it's close. Yeah, I mean it's conceptually like as an analogy, Mr. Freeze is your Zodiac, you know? So don't do Zodiac again. Go do more Fight Club, you know? And I think he will. That's the point. Is like he continued to make movies after Zodiac. And I think Matteo, realizing his mistake, right? Going to church, having penance for it, saying his Hail Marys and Our Fathers. He went to church, asked the forgiveness of the Lord, came back and said, I will do better, Almighty God. So the thing that he's working on now, I suspect is just going to knock people's socks off. Right? So potentially these art director jobs, I can't say. Like it may come. I don't know. but it may come. You play your cards right. But I think jokes aside, what you did was right, which is, hey, I'm gonna go heal up.
In general, my question wasn't like, oh, Eric, did make the right choice? It was like, if I said
It
yes,
sounded like that's
I
what you were
realized
asking.
that I don't have a clue of what an art director should be.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, because in my head I have this idea of an art
That's
director,
right.
and
Yeah.
never been close to an art director like job. So
Yeah.
I wanted to, pick your brain about it.
I said yes, not knowing what the hell I was getting myself into at all.
Oh shit!
But it was a
Yeah.
good experience. It wasn't bad. It was for a
What
pilot.
was it?
It was for a animated pilot. I did a Guardians book with Paul Scheer, the comedic actor, and him and his writing partner had a cartoon that Adult Swim bought a pilot for them, but the animation studio they'd been working with for years couldn't nail a single design. And while I was working on this Guardians book, we clicked really well. Like Paul and Nick, they love hip hop. I love hip hop. We had a similar vibe. They're like, one day, they're like, hey, could we pay you just to take a Sunday in your sketchbook and just throw some ideas together for these characters to help the animation studio? And so I was like, yeah, no problem. And so I just sat down in front of the TV and did some doodles. And they were like, you just nailed each character you drew. Like, we don't need revisions. That's it. And so they gave it to the studio and said, now design the other characters in the vein of this. And they couldn't get them to do what they wanted at all. So they eventually said, Shawn, if we pay you to art direct this, will you just come in and art direct the pilot? And what that ended up meaning for me was it was me and one employee below me who was the background artist. So I was like, I would spend, like, we had a little corner of the animation studio and I would do the characters and the turnarounds, and anytime he needed feedback, I'd give it to him, and he was painting backgrounds and we pulled it together. And so I think it was a great experience, and I wasn't out of my depth, which I thought when I said yes, I might be.
Yeah. Well, probably that's a more, gradual approach to the job, because you get in a smaller team, so you don't feel like, the responsibility of having to control a huge, group of people, which is, more responsibility, at least in your head. The responsibility at the end is the same, because you have the responsibility for the visuals for a specific product, so it's the same. Totally. But at least the anxiety for the first time, it's a little bit lower, probably.
Would you do it, given the opportunity? Would you do it now?
Now it would be hard because I have a kid, so it's harder for me to take a commitment like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
But it would be an interesting experience for sure. But knowing myself before doing it, like if they ask me, okay, are you gonna be available? We need somebody starting from, I don't know, like June 2023. I would literally spend from today to June like studying what's gonna what does it mean to be an art director, what are all the positions, because I really hate to be unprepared on professionally speaking, not about life in general, but professionally speaking, I really love entering a room and knowing exactly what we're talking about.
For sure. What I love about what you just said is you guys are wearing identical jackets, but you represent like two sides of the same coin. You go in there and you're like, I want to be as freaking prepared as possible. If the thing is in June, I'm going to be studying between now and June and just being like as sharp as possible. I know for sure that there's going to be stuff that's going to be popping up on my radar, but at the very least, I know going in there, I'm going to go in there with confidence because I'm well informed. The other side of the coin is Shawn, who just said, I sat in front of my freaking TV. And when they said, you want to come over here and just do this stuff? Shawn was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm completely unprepared. I don't know what's directly in front of me. It could be a bicycle. It could be a truck, but I don't care. I'm going to stand in front of it. So I love your guys' dichotomy. You guys are an amazing pair. That you guys like peanut butter
and jelly.
No, and I got peanut butter and like peas. You know what I mean? Like it's a
What?
weird combination. It shouldn't work.
Somehow
One of
it works. It shouldn't be
somehow
working.
that should not freaking work, but it's like you guys are wearing the same jackets and I have to freaking appreciate it. Can I talk to you about, those are all great subjects, by the way. When Shawn asked you to come on and hang out with us, I saw it as an opportunity for us to just like catch up and be stupid together, and somehow it makes it on air, right? And somehow Shawn gets to, from the both of us, like feel the warmth and bask in the glory. First of all, from you, less so these days because of Batman, but more so these days because I have more color than both of you. But like, I saw it as an opportunity for us to catch up and just chit chat and shoot the shit, right? How did Shawn sell it to you when he said, "Hey, come on and hang out, take an hour away from your busy schedule, your really dependent child, this guy who's like looking to you, saying like, that's the father figure that I want. He's absent for an hour out of a day." How did he sell it to
Eric,
you?
you completely underestimate the bond of the Fratelli.
Was that it? Is that it? He
Because
just had
you
to
know
press the
what?
Fratelli button.
You know what actually happened? He just
Yeah.
asked me to be on a podcast. So I didn't know anything, but it's my fratello. So I just said yes. And I realized after
Yeah.
that it was just an episode of a podcast, and that's it. And I was
Is
actually, I didn't even know that you were here as well.
Yeah,
I was
he never said that, right? You would have said no right away. He would have been like, Canete's there. No.
yeah. So yeah, I just said yes, and that's it.
All right. So are you getting the value? This is how many have we done? Have we done 3? Have we done 4?
This is our second one.
No,
Is
this
it?
is
No, second one.
the third one.
The third one.
Third
The
one.
first one, it was the 3 of us,
Yeah.
and we were talking about me mainly because it was
Right.
the main attraction of the episode. And then
The way he says it, that
second
bugs
one
the
was
shit out of me.
The second one was what? Oh, with Jason's
It's the way
birthday.
Matteo said the main attraction was me, and the way he bobbed his head left and right that made me want to stab myself in the ear. All right. So second one was Jason because it was
and the second one was Jason's, which, by the way, I didn't know that Jason was gonna be there.
Yeah, that was nice.
I didn't know either. I remember mentioning it. Like Eric said, it was his birthday. But it'll be fun to have him on. And then I was happy to see him on. But I didn't know.
No, it was a great way for us to say thank you for all his hard work. It's a great way for like to reflect on where we've been and potentially where we're going to go, which speaking of, I'm so ridiculously excited to come and see you in Italy.
Oh my God, I need this.
Oh, by the way, I have news. So later
we'll do it offline. Yeah. But we're really looking forward. I know personally, I'm looking forward to it. My wife's looking forward to it.
Me too.
And Shawn, not so much. Not so much. Shawn's. Now that said, like
Eric
is
get ready for the outfits.
I hope.
I do want to raise one question.
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Let's do one of these in person at Como.
Sure.
Well, I'll bring my Mevos.
Oh, yeah.
We'll set it up like somewhere gorgeous where we have the lake and the mountains, and we'll do it.
Yeah,
You just set like the wrong expectation, man. I think I'm happy to just said like the way you said it was like we'll put it somewhere in the background and it's gorgeous. I'm like, that may or may not happen. Let's just do it in Como, and then from there, if it ends up to be gorgeous.
It'd be nice to do it here in my studio,
Oh,
but we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of time to spend here. So, and there's gonna be other people. So maybe Como will have more time.
We could do a quick one in your studio, like a 20-minute jam, and then we could do a longer one in Como.
If you guys are up,
I'm down for it. And it sounds like, for whatever, maybe it's the fake bloodline between the two of you. Maybe it's like the connection of your tattoos. I don't know what it is. It sounds like Shawn has wrangled you in to do more of these. I'm glad that it seems like you're okay with it.
Yeah,
what I'm hoping for is
you know what it is, Matteo.
Yeah.
Eric's feeling left out. I think
I?
he needs a jacket.
That's it's exactly the thing I was thinking about, and the thing that I was about to to propose for our Italian episode.
Perfect.
Okay, so Eric, you don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn and I will find something some, matching outfit, and you're gonna be included for once.
I am never. Look at. I'm gonna look right at the fucking camera. I am never gonna wear whatever it is the fuck you guys buy from me.
Yes,
I'm
he
never gonna
is.
get like a
Yes,
cat-like
he
tattoo anywhere on my body.
Oh,
I'm here to
you
talk.
get a
I'm here
tattoo
to
in
like.
Italy.
I'm here to like help you guys talk through this freaking train wreck of a podcast. But I'm never gonna go to that extent. Okay, that's very kind of you. I'm never gonna participate. So
I mean, at least you'll sit and you have the outfit right next to you. But I think that with time, we're gonna convince you.
What we should do, we can make like a fake Eric, like with like a cantaloupe for a head.
Listen
and a
to
body
the
and
extent that
put
you're
the
willing to
jacket
go
on.
through in order to make me play cosplay with you guys. It's so gross. It's so disgusting. The point that's very kind of you guys. You know that I love you both, but I will never, ever, ever do that.
Okay.
The other thing that I want to
let's-
say
let's
is that now
remember
that
this moment, because we're gonna play it like as an intro to
Oh,
that
yeah.
episode.
Yes.
Just remember the exact moment. It was like around 50 minutes in.
We'll
Okay.
start with Eric
So
saying,
if it wasn't for the
I
if it
never
wasn't
will
for the
do that.
promise that I made to my wife, I
then-
am rethinking. I'm reevaluating this Italy trip. I am
And then it's
really.
like I'm already imagining everything. I'm the director of that episode.
Clearly, you're
So-
imagining everything already.
So
The art director is here.
yeah, we're starting with you saying that I love you guys, but I will never. Hey, look at me. I will never wear the same outfit as you guys. And then we fade to black, and then 4 months later, and then the opening scene is the three of us in my studio wearing the same outfit.
I got. An
I have
editor
never,
ready
and
to
listen,
go.
I hope this never happens, but I have never wished for you to break your shoulder again more than I am hoping that it happens right now. That's yeah. Listen, guys. Jokes aside, I'm glad that you're here, Maddie. Again, I was using it as a selfish reason to catch up with you. I'm glad that you came with. I'll say this. I'm glad that you came with talking points, right? Which is more than somebody came with back when this was a duo. We're not gonna say.
I had
whom.
talking point. I reject that. I had talking points every time, and I jotted them down, and I brought them up.
I don't think you did. That's a complete lie. We're gonna need proof. All right, listen. I know you, both of you guys have things to do today. Now you actually, Matteo, stuff that we talked about offline. You want to get a jump start on this show a half hour sooner. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. Thank you for making time. Let's get this off short. That felt really, really good.
Yeah, that's great. Great.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Thanks, fellas.
All right, gents. Let me see if I can hit the button to give us the outro bump. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
This is the INKPULP podcast. This is the INKPULP podcast. Comics, hip hop, life.
You.